Frank McGuinness, a lawyer who has chosen to represent Hamas, appeared on Talk TV and LBC, and frankly, he completely destroyed Zionist talking points.
Have you decided to take this case?
What do you mean?
Has it been your decision to take this case? You've been instructed and you've decided to take the case?
Who else would have decided to take the case? I don't understand. So of course I decide what cases I take.
How do you sleep at night?
You have just asked me, how do I sleep at night? And what you're trying to do by saying that is you're trying to fix me, you're trying to associate me with my client. There is a very well-established
representing them, Frank. You're representing them. You've decided to this is conversation. I'm not going to be told whether I can talk or not talk. You've decided to represent them.
So you've invited me to talk over me because you're afraid of what I have to say, is that right?
I'm not afraid of what you have to say.
Let's talk about how there's a crisis of Zionism because it's committing a genocide. Do you agree that Israel's committing a genocide?
No.
So if I'm right that it is, and if South Africa's government is right that it is, that would make you a genocide denier, would it? Is that what you are? You deny genocide, do you?
To you alleging that I'm a genocide denier, which I would argue is defamatory.
You literally denied the genocide. It's not defamatory, mate.
I'm not denying it. I'm not denying it. It is not a genocide.
Yeah, so if I said if I'm right,
it is factually not. Well, you're tying yourself up in knots. What I would wonder is how you can argue that Hamas isn't a terrorist organisation if the definition is so broad.
Well, by that logic, Israel's a terrorist organisation. Do you agree?
No.
It gets better. So Peter Cardwell, who's the host on Talk TV is, then claims that multiple governments who have accused Israel of genocide are simply wrong.
No solution for the Palestinian question except through jihad. That is what Hamas believe, and I would not represent an organisation that believed that, and you have chosen to.
Where's that quote from?
The first one is from the Hamas Charter Article 7, and the second one is from Hamas Charter Article 13.
Which year was that charter passed in?
I don't have it in front of me.
You don't know, do you? You're out of your depth, aren't you?
Out of my depth, right. So presumably it has something to do with what you believe.
Do you not understand how the legal system works?
Yes,
I'm going to say that the IDF is a terrorist organisation. She could do that if she wanted. She literally could. Why shouldn't she? They're doing a genocide.
Why shouldn't she? It's not a genocide. It is factually not a genocide.
Well, the South African government, the Irish government, the Spanish government, the Belgian government disagrees with you. Oh, you know better than them, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're wrong. They're wrong.
All right. Who asked you? What do you know? You obviously don't. You're out of your depth. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. I think that, the phenomenal submissions that we saw in the South African genocide case are far more persuasive than any of the sort of ridiculous talking points that you're propagating here. It's okay, mate. You're allowed to not know what you're talking about, but why don't you just admit it to your viewers? You don't know what you're talking about. You're under your depth. Everyone can see it.
Frank, thanks for your help. That's Frank.
Thanks for your help. Cut it off. That was so cathartic to watch. It's brilliant, and he completely made the host look like a complete mug. But Frank also then appeared on LBC with Tom Swarbrick.
You say it's right to do it pro bono because?
I don't want to talk about the question of why I've done it pro bono. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the application, please.
Okay. So I'm going to ask the question one more time, and you can choose not to answer it if you don't want to. Why have you chosen to represent a terror group?
I find your question extremely unprofessional.
Why?
I'm here to talk about a serious application. It's clear that the organisation I represent, Hamas, wanted to make an application under Section 4 of the Terrorism Act. They required legal assistance to do it, so I accepted a brief.
Are you being paid for it?
No, I've already told you, if you were listening, that I'm doing it pro bono.
The reason why I love his disdain and attitude is because, of course, the entire framing. Look, I chose this story not to discuss about the lawyer himself and why he decided to represent Hamas. They are a terrorist organization. That is just a fact, right? But what I'm interested in is the entire narrative has been extremely pro-Israel, and we need voices to push back on it. We need people to say that Israel is also a terrorist state. Kevin, I want to get your response to these series of interviews. Hilarious they are, but I got to hear your response.
I'm so glad that this has happened. like you say, just to hear a man with the level of Chad energy that's going on, it could only have been bettered if he'd been wearing cat ears or something, just to equally mock them even further. No, it's amazing, amazing that he's pushing back on narratives in a way that you just don't hear from anyone. None of the sensibles, none of the adults in the room ever have anything to say other than broad, generic, like, oh, maybe bombing children shouldn't happen or something. But that's about as much as you're ever going to get. And again, the absolute denial of genocide is not a thing remotely that it just exists on GBBs. That'll be on the BBC and everywhere else. I'm glad that this guy has been able to sort of say his piece and to push back against narratives. I don't think he has much of a case under the definition of the terrorism under the Act, although he has I think a philosophical point to make about how broad that definition is and the fact that certain other groups would definitely fall under terrorism that realistically aren't. But I don't know that works within the confines of this particular case. You would have to take that to the Supreme Court or the European Court of Human Rights or something to strike that law down and have it rewritten by Parliament, which isn't going to happen in this case. But I'm glad that he's had this opportunity because it sort of exposes a thing within the media that I find very, very frustrating. And that is the media love to morally grandstand. When they think they have an absolute slam dunk case against anybody, whether it be Hamas or, as you say, the IRA or whoever, they will deny the ability of them to even use the legal recourse, which is supposedly the inherently strong, beautiful part of our system. As the man pointed out, under Section 4 of the Terrorism Act, any organisation on the earth that is designated as a terrorist group has a right to appeal that designation. Any group, the IRA, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, anyone. Okay, that's the strength of our legal case, or the strength of our legal system, supposedly. But if you try to do so, they will say, "How can you possibly sleep at night?" It's ridiculous. The same people who will ask that question of the lawyer are fine with what Israel has been doing. This man is the lawyer is just using the legal system in order to try and test the strength of the legal system, I suppose, in a sense. He's not killed anybody. He hasn't hurt a single person, as far as we're aware, in the world. Israel has killed tens of thousands of people and is currently trying to destroy the livable existence of 2 million people, as well as still continuing their attacks on the West Bank. If Hamas are a terrorist organization, how on earth are the IDF not a terrorist organization? Yeah. How on earth are the Israeli cabinet not a terrorist organization? How is the Knesset not a terrorist organization? Please, can anyone answer me that question? And ultimately, the same people who will morally grandstand about a lawyer taking a case pro bono are absolutely fine with the use of our weapons destroying the lives of Palestinians. Our taxpayer money being used on RAF reconnaissance flights from RAF Akrotiri to help aid and abet the genocide of the Palestinian people by the IDF. And those people are sick.
So you're right. It's almost entirely... almost 100% likely it's not going to work. Because they're subscribed as a terrorist organization here, it's not going to go through in terms of the law. But this is not what it's about. Okay, to me, this is about pushing back on a broader rhetoric, which is the fact that, as you've just perfectly laid out, Israel is a terrorist state, and the fact that anything you charge Hamas with, right, Israel's done 100 times more.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is complete bias to say, well, Hamas are a terrorist organization, but Israel or the IDF or Netanyahu isn't a terrorist. And this is where these media pundits are pushing Zionist talking points, because they'll say stuff like, how do you sleep at night representing Hamas? And obviously, Frank is pushing back and saying, well, at the moment, we have multiple countries. We have multiple court proceedings saying that this is plausibly a genocide. Okay? And if you're defending Israel, you are technically defending genocide, or you are denying genocide. And this is the question he put to Patrick, whatever his name was on the Talk TV.
Swarbrick.
That was on LBC, I think. But on
okay. Oh, the Northern Irishman. I don't know.
Yeah, on the first clip. And it's like he's live on TV denying a genocide because we actually have legal proceedings backing it up. Now, of course, we all knew it was genocide before the courts came out in this ruling, but now it's on paper. And no one asked these people, how do you sleep at night? No one asked Keir Starmer when he fucking said on TV that Israel has a right to cut off water and electricity. No one asked him How does he sleep at night? But it's always those that defend the other side. And again, this isn't about trying to make a moralist argument of whether Hamas are good or not. This isn't it. This is about destroying the entire Zionist framing that Israel can do no wrong and everything is down to Hamas, with removing the entire context as to why Hamas exists. Hamas would not exist if there wasn't a 75-year occupation.
Well, exactly, yeah. The same people who will argue, and that how can he possibly sleep at night, are fine with the fact that next week we have the Israeli foreign minister arriving in Britain for a diplomatic mission, a man who sits in the cabinet, who was appointed by a prime minister who was wanted by the ICC for war crimes.
Yeah,
and ICC, an organisation we are signed up to. That's absolutely fine. No one is going to ask David Lammy how he sleeps at night. No one's going to ask Keir Starmer how he sleeps at night. Damned it, I dare say they won't ask the Israeli foreign minister how he sleeps at night. But a lawyer doing the things that you would expect a lawyer to do, like filing a legal complaint at the High Court, that somehow is so morally offensive to these people that they need to pearl clutch and get the fainting couch out. It's an embarrassing Zionist joke.
Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.